Quiet on the set.
First item on the agenda is privilege of the floor. Yes. Oh,
Hi.
You're waving. I thought you had a question.
Well, this is my last board meeting till I come back in May, so.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
Have a nice year in school.
Yeah. I hope I survive.
Good seeing you. Thanks for all your work.
Approval, next item is approval of the minutes. We need to make a I need a motion to approve the amended meeting minutes of June 14th.
I saw it.
Oh, thank you. Jim, Norma. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Need a motion to accept the minutes of July 12th. I'll make that motion.
Who did that one? I'm sorry.
Jim and Norma.
Just a couple of changes for the July 12 minutes.
Okay.
First page under the call to order, it's the July 12th meeting, not June 14th. And page 2, we gave $20 for the Sunshine
I was
Club.
going to say it's 20, not 25.
It is 25?
No, it's 20. I
It's
have
20,
it written
okay.
here too, so thank you. If you didn't, I have it in my notes.
I'd like to request that the
25 each?
20.
20.
It says 25, it's 20. Yes,
I'd
Fred.
like
Change
to
notice.
request that the minutes be amended to indicate that my absence last meeting was excused by the chair lady of the board.
So noted.
Any other questions or comments for them?
Yeah, under presence on the first page,
Present, yes.
I think there's 6 members instead of 7 present.
Right.
So Frank was absent.
This break was
Is
right.
that right?
I was excused.
Excused, yes.
I
And then
have 7,
on,
you have 6, sounds like 2.
Gosh, I love it.
You're on the wrong minutes.
Well, yeah, you're mine and Aruba. I don't blame you.
Yes, Bernie.
also on the last page under adjournments, it says 9:02, but the executive session ended at 9:22. So that's supposed to be 9:25. 9:25.
Our secretary has those notes. 9:25.
9:25. It's 2 minutes after.
Thank you, one and all.
Okay, so, we can either approve them as amended, or we can wait and approve them in September. Your choice. Okay,
These
I
are
would
mine.
like a motion to approve the July 12th minutes as amended this evening. Ellen,
I'll
Keith,
second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Where am I? I'd like to interject for a second before we do treasurers and directors report. I have been asked if we could possibly refrain from comments and questions till after both reports are given in succession, fully because it makes for ease of minute recording. If that's okay with the board. Linda, Jack.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everybody. I have the reports, the balance sheet, and the profit and loss statement for July, the first month of the new fiscal year that we're in. So there's no 3 months rolling forward like normal because we're in month 1. So I kind of set it up to show the July actual compared to the July budget, and then the difference over or under budget. And then on the right-hand column, I put in the whole annual budgets you see for the whole year. So the salaries and wages are $945 below budget for the month of July. The month of July, we had 3 pay periods. That's why the numbers appear. The 69,000 was for 3. It just worked out that there were 3 pay periods. There's twice a year that happens. I think January is the next one. But so we're starting off right on, pretty close where we left off last year, running slightly below budget. Nothing else really stands out. The benefits are in line with the salaries, so they're slightly below budget as well. The books haven't really been updated for July because we're still working with the auditors to finish the June 30th, finish the year end, but the books will have to be updated. There was one large charge in the juvenile books that the Penworthy company, I think it's something we pay once a year or something. that was $803, so that's why that looks a little strange to see juvenile higher than adult. Normally adult is the bigger, but books have to be brought up to date. But I would imagine that they're probably running within the monthly budget amount. We have a whole stack of them up there to be paid this week, actually. Yeah, you saw that, right? Yeah. Under building equipment, the $449.99, I think that was the new air conditioner that we're experiencing right now. So that's why that line is slightly over, but that was something more overdue. So normally that line is in check. And then the building repairs, the line below at the $594.50, that was the work that Henry Urban did upstairs on the second floor electrical work. So that was like another one-time shot. So we had some of these things done right at the beginning of the year. Utility bill hasn't been entered, but that's upstairs. I think it's $1,700. So really we're slightly under budget on utilities. That's going to be paid this week as well. On building, those were the only items that really stood out. The first quarter, or the third quarter, the first quarter of the new fiscal year, but the third quarter of the calendar year, answer bill was in. I think that's the one the other day you saw. Yeah, you signed. And that happily is running below the budget amount. I think we increased the budget for answer because we were kind of unsure of how much it was going to go up to. But so far, so good. The first quarterly one is slightly below budget amount. Under programs, we split last year everything was under adult programs. This year we're trying to split it, as the board asked us to, between adult programs, and then Ken's activities are under community development. And he was over this month because he had basically, I printed out the activity in there, he had the Shakespeare production and all the actors had paid. I think they were all paid $175 each, so that's why for this month Ken's portion is over budget, but that's a one-time event. I think he's having something else in September, so you might see that again in September, but it should even out again. Because for the budgeted amount, I just took his total amount and spread it evenly over 12 months. So, I don't think there's anything else that really stands out too much. Oh, one other point I should make on the interest on indebtedness. I really couldn't think of a good way to set this up, but it looks like we're dramatically below budget, but the amount we're below budget is really the amount that went to the principal. So I put in the full $104,000 that went for the loan is under that line because I don't really have anywhere else to put it. So the $2,000 is the interest portion, and then the $6,006 and change approximately is the amount that went towards the principal on the loan. And on the balance sheet, you see we have $71,500 in cash and key, almost $100,000 in the Orange County Trust Money Market. And on page 2, the loan as of July 31st is $411,000. The day later, the August payment was made. Now the balance is $404,485. So it's almost down by a third now from the original $600,000. Yeah, it's really going well. Especially when you see that it's, out of almost a $9,000 payment, only $2,000 is interest. So really, the bulk of it is going to the principal, which is nice. And then I guess the last point I could make is next week when we're receiving the $75,000 TAN check. So we should be okay. Good. And that's about it. Off to a good start.
Questions or comments on the consent?
Since that mortgage that you listed is not a mortgage, it's a loan.
Yeah, I could just change the title. I think we took the one, we just left key, we changed it up.
I
So
think it confuses people.
okay, so what should I call it?
It's a loan.
Loan payable. No problem. Loan payable, Orange County Trust.
I thought you said we should wait for questions until both Matt and Jack spoke.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, respectively,
Yeah,
so,
each report.
yes.
I have a question, Jack.
Sure.
When can we expect the final accounting for the last fiscal year?
They're just about wrapped up June 30th, 09. and they expect to have the report sometime in September, hopefully. And they're gonna, right after that, they're gonna start on the June 30th, 2010, the year that we just ended.
That's the audit.
Yeah.
They took it.
Yeah, yeah. Is that were you?
Just a year and close out books on accounting on it.
On the June 30th for the current one? Probably the next month or so, I'd say. Rob will probably have some journal entries, but it shouldn't. It is pretty. Like I think at the last meeting I mentioned, it's pretty. It should stay pretty close to what it is. Maybe for the June meeting, some of the books weren't entered, but I could give you an updated report if you would like to see how it changed from when we did the June.
But just somewhere along the line, we should get a final accounting.
Absolutely, absolutely, right. And then that'll be finalized, and then the auditors are planning to come in after they're done with the 09 report. They want to get a jump start on the old 2010 one right away.
But this has been going on since May now, isn't it?
Yeah, but we kind of were distracted from, because they were backed up for the prior year audit. But I would say that the June 30th, 2010, and the next, definitely by the next meeting, it'll be finalized.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions or comments? Motion to accept the treasurer's report. We'll make that motion. Frank, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Elementary.
Matt, you're up.
Good evening, everybody. Let's see. Much of what I have to discuss will appear again down below, some action items and such in the new business, so I won't belabor the points now. But I'm sure you read the department heads reports. Things have been, the library's been buzzing most of the summer, very busy. Statistics are all basically up across the board, which I'm happy to see. As I mentioned, most of these items are going to appear down below, but just in passing quickly say that it's almost time to re-up the contract with Way Beyond if the board so wishes. That's actually, it's November, but I've been speaking with Dave Cole and he wants to get a feel about how we're going to proceed with that, whether we're going to go forward again for another year. Get to that later. I've also been in contact over the last couple months actually with the State Library's Division of Library Development. Apparently many New York state libraries have charters that need to be updated because some of the language is less than clear, especially concerning the boundaries, the charter boundaries. So they'd like us to update that. I should be receiving some preliminary documents from them within the next few days, I imagine. As I say, the main point that they'd like to address is our chartered area. I think our charter just says the town of Goshen. It doesn't give the school district boundaries. It doesn't even mention really the actual area. So they need that clarified. But at the same time, they said this is an opportunity for the board to make other changes if they'd like to. And that's why I went for you tonight, because you'll have at least this month to think about possible changes. I named some. I don't think anyone here looking to change the name, but you can change the name, the number of trustees. You can either have a fixed number as we do now, or you can establish a range, 5 to 15. The IRS language, and lastly, the business about the commissioner being the agent upon whom any legal action would be served along with the library should such an event arise. As I say, I'll mail to Tiffany as soon as I have any of those documents, pass them along you so you can sort of get a better sense of what this entails. I know a couple libraries in RCLS have already worked through the process. It's $60 and several documents that have to be notarized. On that note, actually, I just also wanted to mention that we have one of our clerks upstairs at the circulation desk would like to take the notary test. So I think I'm going to give her the go-ahead to take the classes. I think the library can absorb the cost. It's not a very expensive venture, and I think it would be helpful to the board and to our patrons that several times a week we have people coming in looking for a notary. But I'll brief you on that further as we find out more. Let's see. I mentioned that we've gotten around to getting the information we needed to hire at some point, hopefully within the next few weeks, a painter and somebody to address or at least examine the cupola We have names from the school district. We figured that'd be a good place to start since they had work done recently, and I'll be sending those letters out this week. The big band was a success, the ice cream social. It was very, very warm. I was lucky enough to be able to witness it all from the library, from the window of the library, but I see a lot of sweating band members out there with their trumpets, and I was pretty impressed with their stick-to-itiveness. But yeah, it went well. Had a lot of nice compliments from people that had been there. Shakespeare, The Tempest, as you all know, has had its run in the park. Again, I've had people coming in, basically all positive reviews. I was happy to hear. The first, I think we mentioned this last time around, the first show was canceled because the storm blew down the tent, ironically. But the subsequent shows were all went off without a hitch. And lastly, we have 2 part-time pages that have left us, or they've been put on sub lists, so they don't have regular hours. So we've hired a part-time page, at least for the next month. I think she may be going to college after that, but to take up their hours. And she's working out fine, working out well. So, as I say, I'll have more to say on some of these issues when we get to new business. That's just the overview.
Questions for Matt?
Matt, I've got a couple. One, at the meeting last month that I wasn't here, except that I saw it online, you mentioned something about a roof and leaking.
Well, we've had a leak in one spot for probably 3 years now that hasn't actually, there's no outward indication of the damage it's doing. I think it's the water's being absorbed by the foam that they sprayed up there, which I don't know how, that's not you certainly don't want to take care of it like that, but and recently I had Mark go up and clean our gutters. He offered to do it, and as while he was up there, noticed a couple stones had come, a couple tiles had come loose. So with those two areas I mentioned, the painting and the cupola, I'd also have a number of people I would like to contact. One we had already contacted probably a year ago to look at the roof, and at that time it wasn't in great condition, but it was it was something that we didn't have to address immediately. But we'll have to have somebody look at the leak as well.
All right, how close are we to that little threshold and spending money for repairs to all of a sudden be forced into conforming to ADA?
Well, I mean, you'd have to say, if it were $10,000, we would be in trouble. So we'll have to figure out a way to address that without it. What's it, 5?
5, yeah. It was 10, and we moved 5 to land.
But I think he means there's a threshold that the state has that when we go to rehabilitate the building that exceeds that amount.
Is that money, the 5,000 or 10,000, is that for repairs or changes in construction? Because if it's simply repairing the roof, I can't imagine that would cause you to have to.
Yes, it is. That's what ADA is.
But for repairing a roof, you have to.
It's like a trigger
In fact,
thing, if you get more.
in fact, that's, if we end up having a discussion about the need for a new library again, that's part of the discussion and a major part of the discussion, because we're that close to being forced to accommodate the ADA.
Which if
And if we had to, the line that I've been using, if a tree falls on our roof, our library is closed.
I'd like to see the language, see the way through it. Because it does sound like an unrealistic expectation
From the
on
state,
the part of the state.
You think that they would do it?
You feel or realize that the state is looking for an excuse to lever you into doing it.
Any little avenue they can get in.
Matt?
$10,000 for the cemetery.
I'm sorry, are we done on that one? The other questions that I had concerned both Eleanor and Michelle's reports, and both of them relating to babysitting, and Michelle indicating that parents are leaving children unattended down here because they need to use the computer upstairs or want to use the computer. I don't know if this was a pitch by Michelle to get computers installed down here, or is this a serious problem
No,
that
that-
we have to consider?
It's come up with programming a couple times where an adult has signed up for a program and then brought their children with them.
That was Eleanor's, that was the
Okay,
next thing,
okay.
that was, Eleanor's
other-
complaint was different.
Right.
That was
The-
Eleanor's complaint.
I mean, we will be putting, we have a computer set aside that we moved from upstairs to down here. We just have to have a block, you know, another power extension put into the wall, so that we don't have the electric infrastructure to put it in right now. But, and they've been, I mean, the librarians have been answering the questions, but, it's, you know, we don't have a catalog down here yet. So any question that comes up about our holdings has to be answered by a person. I can't look it up themselves from down here. So we'd like to have at least one terminal. She's also thought about maybe having something more inexpensive like netbooks that we could use down here to save on the cost of a whole CPU and also to save space. So that's something else we've been looking into.
But is this an ongoing problem? Is this something that's happened twice and
It's well, so far it's happened just a couple times. It hasn't been a terrible issue.
so the idea of spending a couple $1,000s to fix a problem that shows up once or twice doesn't
Right.
make too much sense?
Well, as I said, we had already kind of foreseen that, so we have a computer, a terminal, and a table put aside. It's just been sitting dormant, so we wouldn't be buying, you know, like that came from upstairs. There used to be 3 catalogs there. We took one of them out. That's been sitting in the back room waiting to be put out. So there would be no cost, you know, except for the power, which shouldn't be more than a couple $100 to get that.
Okay, and then how serious is Eleanor's complaint about age inappropriate children being brought by parents for adult programs and
Probably happened 2 or 3 times, so we will have a note in the upcoming newsletter as a reminder, you know, that if people sign up and bring their kids, they will have to be turned away because we can't have parents in here while the kids are.
because Eleanor sort of implied that there's some liability problems for us.
Well,
with,
we sure, yeah, we don't, you know, if they're underage children, they have to be within eye shot of their parents, so couldn't close the door on the kids, have the kids out there and the parents in here.
Or exposed to an adult, I think Frank's trying to say an adult activity that might not be appropriate for the younger children.
Right,
What-
that
be it
they
a
bring their
movie or
kids
discussion
because-
on a book or something like that.
and I'm frightened what the ramifications of that could be to our library if we don't do something about it. Or am I the only one who?
No, I agree. She had mentioned glue gun
Yes.
Right.
in the hands of a juvenile.
Yeah, any materials and equipment
That's a good one.
that has an age rating on it should be of concern. But it's.
Or do we just outlaw all of that stuff and get rid of those programs that somebody can drag their infant in and get hurt? You know,
Well, you just can't.
that's
allow
throwing
them.
the baby out with the water.
We'll have to put a rating like in movies, I guess. And even if you are under 17, if we compare it, you know, we're gonna have to say, well, you can't be 10 if you're watching CSI and, you know, like we had the forensics last year, which was like, whoa, you know, I would never want anybody under 16 to witness that. So, things like that, the common sense, but then again.
Doesn't always work.
But a good start would be putting a note in the newsletter.
Just a reminder.
Just to let people know and, you know, begin that
I mean, it's a
reminder system.
And why?
They created a risk of or whatever for those children in the
It's already in our policy handbook. I mean, it's not as if it's not there, but
Right,
a
but
reminder
it's-
can't hurt,
people-
you know.
Or even when we do the newsletter, say this is sensitive case material, young children should not be, like the Dr. Phillips is saying, you know, what, let children
Over
leave the
7
room.
shouldn't be able to.
Or
Right.
even, you know, I'm gonna be downstairs in the program, you sit upstairs. you know, that kind of thing as well, I think you're also concerned about
Mhm.
unattended children.
Right.
So, you know, if I were to be down here and my child was upstairs and
Right.
that's not a babysitting service
Right.
upstairs. Think appropriate coverage?
Any way we could convince the Friends maybe to start a nursery school?
The new library will
Well,
have
we
a
do
nursery.
have a junior friends organization. Grade 6 through 12. And they are doing volunteer work in the library. So that would be a whole new role for young people. And I don't know if we want to jump into that. Maybe we dip our toe into something.
I was gonna say, but then we're gonna get my son or teenager and now, oh, what do you mean you grabbed my son's arm?
Right.
Can't wait till he's over.
Right.
Oh, I almost forgot. Michelle wanted me to mention two things. I remember them now. Oh, one was, Norma, I talked to you about the Spanish language. She already contacted somebody, and I think they're making some arrangements to have some Spanish reading programs for children. But she still would like to hear from you when you have them all here.
Yeah,
Chance.
yeah.
But I think they've already, I think somebody came forward and asked to volunteer, which is nice. And another thing was something to do with the Friends. Goshen, Celebrate Goshen. I'm sorry, I don't have the title exactly. I'll have to email it to you, Jim. But there's somebody putting together a sort of like a Celebrate Goshen Day that'll be at Scotchtown Elementary School, I believe. I'm gonna have to get all these facts and double check with her. But we will be setting a table up there for the children's room, and she was wondering if the Friends might want to somehow partake in the. There's no cost. Just set up a table. We're going to have obviously stuff about our activities here. I'm not sure if she's just looking for Friends volunteers or a separate table, but I will send you I'll send you the details. She's probably watching now. Okay, she is.
If you're done, I have some questions on the same reports.
I'm sorry?
If you're finished, I have some questions on the same. I was interested in the decline in the use of videos, I guess that's the VHS format, and I guess basically DVDs have just taken over. So that really shouldn't be an issue, I'm surprised. I didn't quite understand, it talks about books on CD posted at Sharp 2.5. From 44 to 524, I guess that means it's going up.
Right.
Purchasing titles for, then it says OUR in capital. Is that an acronym for some organization?
I don't think so, I think
Oh,
it's
it's
an
just
emphasis
an hour.
on
Okay.
our
Oh,
population.
our, yeah.
As opposed to the
Instead
sort
of
of
relying on-
standing, here's what you should order, but she wants to
The
cater
plan
more
standing
to
order.
I think OUR is just for emphasis.
Our towns.
Yeah, right,
Our
because she
community.
just wants to cater to the people who actually come in and borrow these things as opposed to just the standing.
Okay, so they're doing a better job of selecting CDs, and as a result, they're getting.
Right.
Okay, that's it.
David and I have been wrestling, mostly David, with the Horizon system, which provides, well, RCLS provides us two ways of getting statistics off of the global OPAC. One is through the Horizon interface, which is sort of a little clunky, but at least doesn't crash. The other one is through something called Web Reporter, which seems to often crash when you ask too much of it. But I hope to add in each. We used to have them, and then we stopped giving you guys statistics. But I hope to add by next month's meeting statistics regarding circulation and programming numbers, all just in one kind of spreadsheet. So that might make it easier for you guys to track the usage of materials.
Let's see, I had one of the questions just in my mind. I know what it was. Someone spoke to me about museum passes. I guess you used to have a certain subscription, and there were museum passes people could borrow.
Right.
And that's expired.
Well, the majority of the museums that were requested, passes that were requested in museums that, mostly in New York City, that kind of figured out that a lot of libraries were buying family passes and then using them as agency passes. Not necessarily because there was an agency pass to buy, but that was the only way to get something that you could use for a number of people. So they basically sent out letters saying that they didn't want libraries using family passes as agency passes for the whole population of the town and their students. So we had to withdraw those. RCLS is looking for ways to mount some kind of effort so that the whole system would make deals with the museums rather than individual libraries, which might get a little more leverage. So that's what that was. I mean, we basically took, since the heavy hitters were the ones that were crying foul, we decided just to, the ones that were left over were not the ones that were requested that often. And we're hoping to get some kind of system-wide participation in just renegotiating with these museums and hopefully getting a deal that way.
And the other thing is, we talked about getting some more statistics, and I'm still interested in trying to find out if you get some data on how many times particular items are checked out. What I'm thinking is that some people say we should, get involved with the electronic downloading of material, which is a great idea, but it's not free.
Right.
And I think there are many books that we get, for example, these sort of mysteries, that if we're buying them below this, so let's say we're paying 25 rather than 36 or something, and then it gets loaned out 25 times, you still have the book, and it costs $1 per person, which is kind of hard to beat.
Right.
So in other words, I think hardcover books, in many cases, are very economical, and I'd like to find out if that's true, if we have any documentation on that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from Matt? Next item on the agenda is the committee report, which was community resources. And I believe we're going to bring this up in executive session. And is there something Keith you want to talk about before executive session?
Oh, sure. Yes. The tour of the Katrini building. I sent out via email last night this hard copy document. Well, you could ask for it around if you don't have a copy. So, last Friday, Frank and I and myself met with Ray Quattrini. We went on a tour of the building and talked, talked our questions through and got, I think, a pretty good idea of what we can do with this building if we pursue it. I got the specs on this handout where, yes, we're talking big numbers here. Can't say for sure how close it will be in the end, but, probably close. He's saying if we bought the building outright, as it is now, $3.5 million. To do the build out, the build out would be, he would do everything as per what we want him to do, putting in the walls and the sprinkler system, the offices,
Toilet paper.
the toilet paper, the racks, the book racks. It's not like we would transport stuff over. He would have it set up through what we would provide him as far as specs and what we want to purchase. He would have a new library set up that we could just pick up our books and put them on the shelves and open up. This also includes new computer systems, everything. So that's what the $3 million build out would be. If you're interested in, it's a partial idea of what we saw in this at this site. The last page has some pictures. Not the greatest pictures, but you can see on the top, that's the bottom floor, and that's one side where it's sort of a horseshoe. It's hard to tell, but it's a horseshoe where you have on either side maybe about 20 feet in from where that middle wall is. And where you see the wreath, I don't know if it's 25 or 30 feet behind us, it's a big area. It's really big. It's like you get lost in it. And you know, this is probably sufficient for whatever we throw as far as resources into that spot. The next picture down with Ray walking out the door is upstairs, and that's the little office. It's actually not little, but it's a fairly large area upstairs on the balcony side, and the one on the right is an even larger area on the back side of the building. And you can't really get an idea of how big these are, but they are quite large. You know, whether one is used to house, I'm just throwing it out, the Historical Society's holdings, or one for juvenile area, one for doing having shows, the offices and admin offices. There's a lot that can be done. There's a lot of space. You can see how nice the stairwell looks. It's, you know, it's like a period piece. And the parking, you have 35 spots. Let's see.
That's just in his lot, right?
35 on site with adjacent municipal, unmetered, and street parking. So you have ample parking there.
Right, right.
Doesn't he have 17? I think he has 17.
No, he said it's 35, that's part.
Yeah, but he's counting the street parking and adjacent municipal parking.
Well, it's more than 17. I had counted just, you know, off the cuff 25 in the area I took a picture of. I thought he included, there's some other spots there that I
There were some
included.
spots on the top right along that come with the building.
It's on the side of the building.
If you're looking at the building, it's like right.
Right,
on this
right
side.
where the Rio Grande is.
Right.
It's beyond that. The Rio Grande is over here. It's over here.
Those are his, that's 35 spots.
No, he doesn't have 35 spots.
Oh, he has at least 25 in that area. But there are 10 more spots that he considers as part of the property to bring it up to 35.
Well, if he doesn't own them, then they're not his spots.
Well, he said they were his. I mean, he did. He said there are 35 spots. And
What do we have
unmetered.
here, 5, 6?
Huh?
What do we have in 6?
All right, so the deal.
Here?
It looks like
Oh,
30 in the picture.
right.
Yeah, it's.
Well, it's a lot
Well, it
more
looks
than we
like
have.
20 in
It's
the
not
picture.
off of 207. It's not with people backing up into
And right
traffic
now,
that
you
they
can see the
can't see
senior
if
center.
somebody's coming.
You can see the senior center in this picture too, so they go.
I'll get to that.
Oh,
I
okay.
know. Okay. 6-inch water main for sprinklers. I'm not sure, is that a requirement for a library? If we wanted to, we have enough water pressure to do so.
It's a matter of getting the water.
Car wash.
This is the village
Car
of
wash.
Goshen.
We have a very, it's a very good electrical and heating system. The second floor can support 200 pounds plus, sufficient if we were to put racks of books up there.
Building and ceilings are ultra insulated.
Ultra insulated. Ultra. Yes, it's crazy. Did you say crazy? That's crazy. Crazy hot. Crazy, whatever. So if you look at the total square footage, 12,300. There's also 1,400 square feet of balcony space, not included in the numbers for upper or lower floors. The downstairs will probably come out to about 5,800 actual after putting up the walls and wrapping it around where the heater or whatever we have down there is. Upstairs, the company leasing, what's close to around half the space, has about 3,000. square feet. So that leaves close to 3,300 square feet. And let's see. So, oh, and you know, if you've not been around, if you've not looked at it, you should. There's a lot to see, even just looking around the outside. I didn't notice till on Friday, but there's an area that's outside on one side with a balcony overhead that you can set up tables. You can have an enclosed area for setting up tables for people to read at. God forbid if we had, you know, coffee machine or whatever, people could take it out there and drink with their book or e-reader or whatever. As far as the current leasee or leaser, lessee, we have no rights other than what that lease stipulates. So we would have to go with the current lease, and that is a 10-year lease with 5-year options. So they have it, 2 5-year options, yes, which means they would have it, I believe, for 20 years, which would go out to December 31st, 2019, I think.
Yeah, they have 8 years left in the current.
Right,
So-
that's.
If it's 20 years, it's gonna be.
If it's 20 years, then it's
29.
20.
Well, it's 18 years from now.
18 left.
18.
18 years.
Yeah.
So that's space that's not available.
2028.
Not available, and they would, and we would.
Then we can probably.
Okay.
Speak up.
We could solve that overnight by
Yes,
moving the
we
kids
will.
upstairs.
Don't give away our game plan.
Right. They are currently paying $5,000 a month. So.
That's their rent, 5,000.
That's their rent.
And they,
And, you know, I don't know all the details on this triple net lease, aside from, I believe, they pay 25% of the taxes. That's how much of the space they are in. So they pay 25% of the taxes.
And 25% of the water bill.
right.
Exactly. Now, taxes, that's something that we'd have to discuss, because if we were to purchase it, we're a government entity,
And
we don't pay taxes, but there could be some, I don't know if it's agreement with the village, possibility
There has to be something research as to how that would play.
that
Yeah.
they would
Whether they-
continue
whether
to
they
get
wouldn't be
25%.
paying taxes, or whether they're a part commercial and would be paying based on that.
So,
There's no way they can pay.
Not us, but does this include also
Excuse me?
putting in an
Not
elevator?
us, but.
no, there is an elevator.
There is an elevator
There,
already?
yes, I don't have a picture of the elevator,
Property
Okay.
tax.
Right, so they
but
would
it
be
is to
paying
the
25%
left of the
taxes on
stairwell
it, so we pay-
going up,
Okay.
this is
and,
also-
let's see.
What about handicap accessible?
There's a big gorgeous elevator.
Plenty of room
I mean,
in the
inside, they
space.
can open the front doors, we might have to get
Oh,
those.
yeah.
We may have to adjust the doors, put an automatic opening door in there somewhere along the way.
Perhaps, yes.
So the rent's
But it might be fine, because there's already a building, a business in place on the second floor that's using the elevator. I think that's why the elevator's there, is for the current tenant, for the current.
Yep.
So it might be up to standards already.
I would think. I think
Oh,
the
yeah.
building is
Well, yeah, I
for
was
any
thinking getting
entrance.
into the
Well, there's
physical
already a
building.
ramp in the parking lot, right?
Yeah.
Am I remembering
You are right.
There's handicap
That's-
spots right by the door.
Yep.
I just don't remember.
So, I don't know. I gotta tell you, I love the building. Okay, what we have here, and you know, a lot was in Frank's report that he sent us originally. A lot of this information that I'm gonna repeat here. If you look at the picture, yes, you'll see the Senior Citizen Center, just within walking distance. To the left is Kenneth's. It's right downtown where our businesses are. And, you know, whether they, you know, go to the businesses and come back or leave their children if they're old enough to be left behind, it brings kids down and parents to our village. So it has potential of invigorating our downtown area. So I love this place. I gotta tell you, and I don't know. Do you guys love this place? Are you like it? Are you in like with it? what?
Yeah, it's got.
What'd you think?
Got lots of advantages. Being so central is the biggest advantage, and being so close to the senior center and the businesses right there is correct. Also, the day we were there was a very hot day out. It was 85 degrees outside. We were out either on the upper or lower balcony. It was a cool breeze. Shooting across.
I mean, in fact, I'd be concerned about how much access there is in the building, and how many windows, how many doors you can open.
Yeah.
You forgot to mention also for the concern about parking, and that when during business hours, Padrini says that we're welcome to use his parking across the street for the office building where Steeple Nicholas is and Chase Bank as library parking. So, and those people are out of there at 5 o'clock anyhow. So.
Right. So it solves many of our problems. It provides us the space to grow into, and not only to we could spread things out and get more of our resources available to the patrons. I don't know what would come of the lesser. If they were to leave, that would give us an additional over 3,000 square feet. So, 20 years from now, maybe that would be something we'd like to see happen. I think it's also been mentioned at other meetings, you can build a third story on that building. I don't think we'd ever have to do so. I got lost in there. I'm telling you, it just was really nice. And it's been going on over 2 years. And I think we need to commit. I think if we're going to do this, we should look at if we can do this. And I don't know of any other building that would be as well suited to our needs than this building. I know there's been some discussion of the Healy building, which Fair Acres Farms is actually locked in for the next couple of months. So it's not even available. It's not an option.
It's not quite true.
It's not an option now.
So they have a contract that they have an exclusive rights to the property, and it expires in roughly a month now.
Well, we're looking now.
And to be honest, I don't think there's anyone in the village that would say, if I had a choice of having Adams there or a library, I'll take the library.
They
Well,
rather have
they don't want to market there.
If Adams-
absolutely.
Including me.
Yes, guys.
Adams would be
was,
great.
yeah, but it's not Adams. And I'll read a statement of privilege of the floor.
When?
A privilege of the floor, just to
Can't do it now.
appease
Okay.
a
Well,
minority
let me continue then.
of the public.
Okay. I think we need to move on this again, to see if it's possible to hash out the details, to do what is necessary to be able to move to any building, which I know we have in the Blue Book. The last time we looked at moving into property on Salesian, a new building on Salesian, a big document was written up, which included some of the reasons why we're doing this. And I think we need to do the same thing. Most of the reasons are still the same, but it needs to be revisited because we have to sell this to the community. Regardless of where we're going to move to, we have to sell it to the community. So we have to come up with these reasons. And I know, yes, the ADA requirement is the biggest one, where if the tree fell on this roof, it could shut down this library till we become ADA compliant, and we lose probably half of the space we have. I don't think we could use the basement at that point. So it has to be done, and I thought in order to get the waiver each year from the state, we have the intent of looking for property. And how long have we been looking for property? For 5, 10 years? I mean, how long will they allow us to come back and say, well, we're still looking.
Well,
Until we
some of
run out of
them may have
excuses.
noticed that there's financial problems out there, so we might be able to get away with it for a little while.
This is
Oh.
infancy.
Little while.
What we have to do is go to the public with our intent and our choices, but not our decisions. We have to be perfectly crystal clear with the community that this is what we've been looking at, these are our options, we want your input, we wanna know what you want for your library.
Exactly.
So, when there's discussions now that are public now, we're gonna have to answer, so we need to tell people, okay, come in, let's talk about it. Now that we're talking about buildings and we're going a little bit forward, we don't have a timeline yet, but we really want your opinion, what do you want, what do you think? Because we just can't go back to them and say, well, we love what, this building, building A, and we think it's a bad, that's not gonna fly, so we need to really bring them in now, let's do the poll.
Exactly.
Madam
Because,
Chair,
yeah.
Chair Lady?
Yes, sir.
I was going over our bylaws over the week just to keep myself familiar with them. And one of the things that kind of shook me, surprised me, is that our committees do not have to be comprised of board members. And toward that end, I thought of making a recommendation to you that we go out and request from the public for at least 2 members of the public to join our committee, whatever committee we're using. Last year we were using the community service committee and now all of a sudden it seems to be working on building and ground, but
Well, we also had a capital campaign committee, which consisted of a lot of the public, not even the board at all, which it should have been. I said about 6 months ago, we should be reaching out to the community to see if anybody wants to be on advisory board like the school district does. I think if you guys are willing to go forward, we
so
should put
Mary
something.
Ellen is the chair of the committee, and I think we should go out and specifically ask for public members,
I
at
think
least
we
2.
should put it in the newspaper, like the school does, and say, we're interested, we're trying to move forward, we'd like to put a committee together with a couple of board members and the community.
Are we gonna do this before the season, you wanna do it, or do you
Well,
wanna
we
discuss it further?
let's wait till after the summer, because a lot of people are away.
Alright, so
But I
we'll.
think maybe in September, when everybody's back to school, let's put it in the, now that
When does
it's
our
out there.
newsletter go out?
Our newsletter goes
Our
out.
fall
Well,
newsletter.
It's, we're working on it now. Michelle would like everything in by the 3rd week of August, actually. It's coming up
Next week.
fast.
That might be a good place.
Alright, so we'll start in the newsletter, and then we'll put something in the newspaper
Alright,
as
so
well.
we'll put like a paragraph or something in the newsletter.
Something.
And you need it by the 3rd week of August.
Should we put a number so that, in the event that we have 20 people, do we want to make a committee that's 20?
School board really had, a commit, I don't remember, I was on it for 3 years, and
No, but I mean,
I forget how many there were.
you're looking
Put a cap on
for
it.
example,
Yeah,
we're
we
looking
wanna
for
put a
5
cap on it,
people.
you have
Well,
50
yeah,
people,
yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
If you wanna
Yeah.
put a cap on it, but I think we could see what the newsletter brings in, and then maybe when we follow up in the
Well, we see
newspaper,
what the
we're getting a lot
response is, and then
from the
we may not need
newsletter.
to cap it. And if it's too big a group, then we can try to figure out a way.
Yeah, let's see what
But
the
if people-
newsletter brings in,
If people are
and then-
interested in being
What are we
involved.
gonna call it? Do you have an idea?
Capital project.
Capital
Advisory
project?
group for-
Advisory group for capital project. I think that's capital project. The other thing that I wanted to ask is, we had the Quattrini building, which is one option. We also, Tiffany, you brought in the Healy building. Jim, you had also looked into the building next door, whose main use is
Yeah.
vacant. And also, the other thing that we had talked about was, Jim, we were gonna try and get a hold of the architects who built the Warwick Library to see.
Right, but I have some information if we're gonna pursue this topic, and I can share with you.
We might as well do it in community resources, since we're here.
Okay. Well, the first thing I want to say is that when I first got on the board, there was a group that toured the Trinity building, and almost everything that you said was echoed at that time. Its proximity, light years ahead of what we have right now, and just it's a great option in many ways. I think because of what happened with the prior capital project and the economy, everybody just kind of stepped away. So I'm really glad that we're going back and looking at it again. I was this, in my own mind, I tried to come up with all the options that we have. One of the options is to do nothing until the economy improves. And I don't think the state is going to come down hard on any small library, we're not going to new library in this environment. There may be somebody in an office somewhere that will send us a letter saying we really should be doing this, but that's the worst thing you're going to get, in my opinion, is a letter from somebody. It's not going to have any teeth.
That's not the only consideration. The state is just, if nothing happens to this building, if nothing happens in this building, then the state is our problem. If there's a really bad hurricane or a windstorm or something, and a tree falls on this building, then.
Well, for each of these options, there are pros and cons, and that's very powerful. Con, it's very powerful.
So it's not
We're not doing that, but I agree with you.
Okay.
The second option is to build on the land that we have, something like the North Library, which is a $9 million building. We're talking about $6.5 million for the tree.
Well-
And the Warwick Library is, I think it's around 18,000 square feet. Quite a bit bigger than Katrina. Again, there are pros and cons for that option. The Katrina building is the third in my list. The Healy building is the fourth. I visited that. The cons on that are that it's possibly sold. Paul is hoping that it's sold. But if that deal falls through, he's got this piece of property in this building, and he's asking 2.4, which would suggest that you might be able to get it for $2 million or less. Who knows? But I think he's very anxious to sell. He also
He has to sell.
yeah.
He has no choice.
He wants to stay on keep his offices on that upper level. The main building was renovated, and the main building has lots of open areas because of the type of construction. So it's not a situation where you have lots of small rooms to deal with. So it's an option. The problem is, one of the biggest problems in my mind is that there's so many options there in that building because there's so much space that it's almost overwhelming as to what to do with it. And you can subdivide it, you can sell those pieces off to help cover the costs. If there are buildings in the back, you can knock them down. You might be able to have one be taken by the ambulance corps. They're looking for a building. I mean, it's just a huge space.
It's a compound.
It's a compound. That's a good way to describe it.
We should add modular to your list.
Modular, well,
Didn't you have
when
that?
I said build on the land, we could build either a building from scratch or bring in modular as a way of building. That's true.
I know they came in and talked to us last year.
Right.
too,
And then the last one is, I took a look at the P building next door, and it's a beautiful building, but it just would never work for anything that we're trying to do because there are so many structural walls within the building, and so it would not work for us. However, behind that building there is a piece of land that they're not using. It's behind their parking lot, and it actually abuts our parking lot, and they would consider selling it to us. I think I sent an email out, and it would, was it 25, 30 parking spots? It's a big piece of land. They even would sell us land beside the building because I was told that you can, in this zone, you can build fairly close, and so we could pick up another 20, 30 feet if we needed to, which would then give us, theoretically, once we are, give us enough space to build a building where our current parking lot is and have about 30 spots back there. Now, how would that look connected to this building? It might be a nightmare. It might be great. I don't know. But we would still be the owners of a building, this building, that needs lots of work. So that, there are some real negatives on that one as well. but I think the community needs to know that we've looked at every conceivable option. And, you know, you'd like to hear what the advisory committee has to say, Citizens Advisory Committee. And if it ends up that we're gonna go the Petrini building route, then we can say we looked at all the options and we listened to the community, and then this is where we wanna go. I had some questions about the Petrini building, and I don't know if this is the appropriate time. One would be, very quickly, if we're gonna consider it, I think we need to get an appraisal. Hire someone to do a full appraisal of that building, because he may say it's 6.5 million, and the appraiser may say, I'm sorry, but the existing building is not 3.5, it's 2.5. And he says it's 3 million to build it out. I would like to get someone like Paul Mays. Paul Mays is the architect. I spoke to the architect for the Warwick Library, Butler, Roland, and Mays. And they build libraries. They have 16 libraries under construction or in the drawing stage right now. And I would like to, if we get to the point where we're going to use Petrini building, I would like to bring in an architect like Paul Mays to do the plan for the build-out, because it's really worth taking 2 hours and driving down to Warwick and seeing that building. The feeling that you have. And that's the same kind of thing that the Petrini building might have if you get the right architect inside doing the work. The 200 pounds per square foot sounds like tremendously strong second floor. I don't know what the state requires for a lot of
I believe it's 150.
150, that may be sufficient. The parking, I think, is closer to 20 than 35, but we need to verify that.
Definitely at least 25.
Well, whatever it is, I'd like to verify that. And,
Oh,
the
it's
third
over
level.
30. They're 10 right against the building as well as 20 in that lot. It's 30 right there.
28.5 for a motorcycle.
But the 10 that are right against the building that you're talking about, are they on the street?
No,
Where,
no,
They're in the lot.
are they
right
in the
flat
lot?
up against the
Okay.
building.
Well, then,
At least
okay.
10 spots.
Okay, then the number is correct.
It is.
From the visit 2 years ago, it was a number that was less than 20. But you probably are right, because this is fresher. And the final thing is, I'd like to have someone like Paul Mays say, yes, that building can have a third level at some point in the future.
But you
Well,
know
it
what?
seems-
You know
it
what?
seems-
That doesn't even matter, because we probably never do that. There's sufficient space
But I
in the
think
two
if
floors.
we're going to our taxpayers,
Yeah, I would like
No,
to
I
know.
We're
think
not
we
going
have
in
to-
25
yeah.
years to need another
Yeah.
library somewhere.
Is it an
think
option? That's
we have to go to the
So we can
people
stay
and let
there.
them know that that's a possibility.
Right, so that there's a
And we
Well,
would
that's
do
the
it.
perfect
side.
job
Well,
for
it's
the
a selling
community
point
advisory
going to
board.
the
I also wanna
Yeah.
make sure that that 3 million build out is a 3 million build out
And
and not a contractor build
Right.
out when you end up with 5.5 million at the end of the day when you're building something. So
Exactly.
we need a professional to make sure and work with a general
Well,
contractor
one
when
of-
that time comes.
He was picking numbers from the top of his head. I think you grasped on that 3.5 million that he said for the building. He did not say that. He said he
No, he
has
did.
3.5 in it.
No, he said
He wants
originally.
4,
Huh?
but he wants 4, is what he said. But he's getting that 500,000 mixed in with the build out.
Regardless,
The
Jim's point is
the
good.
important thing is, I believe that $3 million number for a build out is ridiculous. But he has had my good friend Harry Poor, a gentleman who I addressed so nicely at the meeting last year, who came in and gave us a speech. It seems as done, who is a library architect in town, has done some preliminary work on that building for one of the first go-arounds when the library was looking at it. He is willing to bring those things in. The big ballyhoo about dealing with architects, as this board has already found out, is that you gotta hire them. They don't come around free. This guy is giving us a little bit of free stuff, so I'm sure he's covering his backside. But they don't come free, and they come very, very expensive, and they seem to become very, very expensive when things don't go well. So
We're speaking from experience.
Yeah.
we are
Yes,
talking
we gotta
from
be careful about
experience
that.
there, so.
Well, that's down the road. Let's get,
So,
we gotta
but
be
the idea of
That's
hiring
way
an
ahead of where we
architect
are.
is frightening.
That's
Yeah,
I don't know
we're
what you
spending
do.
money on the building, we wanna make sure we're gonna actually
I
invest
asked
in
Paul
this.
Mays what he would charge to come and look at the Petrini building and come and look at the Healy building and just look at it in terms of what could be done where in regard to children's areas and so on, and what's like feasible. And he said it would probably be about $6,000 for each building to do some sort of a preliminary proposal of the kinds of things you can do with that building. No drawings that would be, no mechanical.
That's a
no
good
electrical.
job for the Friends.
There you go. Get up those,
I'm kind of friend
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
We do
They
need
need to
someone
be a little
who
friendlier, I
is,
think.
we do need someone who is knowledgeable about library buildings, who is knowledgeable about all of the state codes, everything that we need to do, that can go in there and say, this, and even give us, an idea in terms of monies, because, 3 million build out, does that mean that he will cover every single code of New York State?
Yes.
That's exactly
Yeah.
what.
Said everything.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what he
New
said.
computers too,
Turnkey.
everything.
Turnkey.
We walk in, the
Everything
walls are
except for the
painted, the
books.
chairs are
Will
there.
he
Air
hire
fresheners.
somebody from,
Yeah.
that does libraries?
Yes,
Oh,
it's
yeah, he
four.
would, absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, he
Yes,
would work
okay.
with us as well.
Absolutely.
Well, I would like to get
that's
someone like.
that's one
Yeah.
of professional, look at those numbers and let us know, because at the end of the day,
Right.
he's a
Right.
businessman.
Of course.
And
Um,
the thing is,
we
that's
you
kind of-
gotta realize, it's been going on for over 2 years. If he finds somebody to
Buy it,
lease
right.
or buy, we lose out on what is the best option for our patrons. This building, I don't think anybody can argue against this building being the best option for us as a library to move to.
Well, let's get
So-
51% of Goshen to vote for it, and it's a done deal.
That's
so-
fine, but it's been going on for more than 2 years, and we can't continue to drag our heels.
Well, that's why we have to get the
So
community
we're gonna
advisory
get to
board
start-
going. We can't do
Well,
anything
I
without
mean-
the community.
Well,
You could've started that a year or two ago, too.
Well,
But we kind of
we
have
can
And
talked
if we're
about it.
asked about,
Yeah.
have we done the same level of homework on the Salesian property? What it would cost to build a building there, we need to be ready with an answer. Because this could be, we could decide, yeah, we're going with this, but if the community says, well, what about that land over there that was purchased for X amount of money, that has a sign on there that says future home of the Goshen
Right.
Public Library, what about there?
Well,
Okay,
what if-
here
can check with
here
Warwick.
is the interesting.
They just built one.
The interesting point
Much
about
bigger.
what Greenies offer. And I have not said a word about whether I'm in favor of it or not, because I don't know. But he has an advantage that is really totally mind-boggling, is that he is willing to sell that property or agree to a contract for the sale of the property. If we were to get voters' approval for $5-7 million, whatever it is, 3, 4, 5, I honestly think that we could our library could end up with a new building for somewhere between 4 and 5 million, trading in 366 Main Street and this building. We could end up with a building for 4 or 5 million. But to get to that point, and he is offering to do this, but he is offering to sign a contract for the purchase if we had the approval to go ahead and do it, and then go and do the construction himself. He can do whatever construction has to be done for a build-up out for at least 1/3 cheaper than we can. At least 1/3, and possibly as much as a half cheaper. Because we are conformed, as a government, we are conformed to the government restrictions of of financing the construction.
But we need to say to the public, we have looked into building a new library and it would, the cost would be so much higher than this.
I think we know that.
We knew that already,
We know.
based
I think everybody
based
knew
on
that.
our
We
original
know.
proposal of
That's-
spending $20 million on that piece of land for that library that we were going to put there.
Well, I
I think
think-
that kind of
You can look
speaks
at
for
Warren
itself.
House.
But that was building
A
a $20 million library.
But
We're
I was
not-
building
we don't wanna
$20
build
Well,
a
if we could,
library.
if we could say we wanna build a 10,000 square foot building there, or 12,000 comparable to building A, then we get a contractor or somebody in the business to say, okay, commercial, per square foot is $152 a square foot. Now you do
Yeah.
150 times 12,000 and that's your basis.
That's
So
right.
if that's a
That's not
starting
improving a
huge
lot.
number,
That's not- that's
then we know
improving.
we're better off not, because there's electrical and plumbing and
Right,
walls,
and
I
we
mean, and
can't-
a slew of things, but that's how we could start to get a number to people.
And we can't be spending thousands of dollars getting.
But we also
Great
have
idea.
an in with the director of RCLS, who said he would come in and talk to us, cause he does things, not as director, but as in his personal life. Maybe he could come and look at some of the buildings or something, or say, I see this here, I see the walls, it's fine, or something like that. So that's a
But he's-
resource
but
we
he's a
can,
paid consultant, doesn't he?
He'll do it for free.
he said he would help us. Even if it
So
just
we're
meant touring
kind of
one
stuck.
building and we buy him a lunch or not, I don't know if that's kosher.
The sunshine-
Rewind.
the sunshine
Friends
law
will-
would understand.
The French will buy him a
No,
Hoagie
they're
and
too
cup of
busy
coffee.
raising the price for the
You never
architect.
know.
The sunshine
I'll have something else
You
now.
guys
Of course.
save your money for the
To
architect.
write another statement, but, that's an option, he said he would help us in directing us. So if we wanna get infancy started, we could get his vibe and then get the community's gotta be essential in this.
Well, as far as,
Did you want him next
his,
month?
suggestion that we need
Did
to
you want
have some urgency
RCLS
about
next
this,
month?
if we put the call for a, citizens group in the newsletter, which goes out, what, September?
Yeah, early.
Then we also-
Theoretically, we might have that committee working in October. Would that
See between now and
be
next meeting.
a sufficient?
October?
Yeah.
Double
Yeah.
shame.
That'd be sufficient
And then maybe
urgency
September.
as
I
far
would,
as-
well, the sooner the better.
The sooner the better.
I don't think we're gonna have a focus group like the last time to figure out what we want, as
No,
far
because
as like,
we already-
coffee stations or whatever. But we're gonna look at, with this group, this building, maybe others, to see if they can support our requirements.
Exactly, and it's a lot
Yeah,
easier than
it's-
starting with
Right,
a blueprint,
so-
because
Right,
here are
starting
our
with
options, these are the
scratch.
only things fiscally
And-
responsible and accessible to the village of Goshen. What are your thoughts and what would you like to see in here? If you tell us the community is a go for this, what do you wanna see in this?
And we're probably not gonna make much change to that building, especially the lower floor.
So I think it open floor plan thing, is that what you're talking
Yeah.
about? Yeah, I think that's.
So,
Right, I think
it's
that.
pretty straight.
I think we need a
straightforward,
railing
this is-
around the street side, but it's,
Yeah, that's,
because of that embankment is pretty.
Future, let's move on,
Yeah,
because we're
that's-
running late, guys,
We
appreciate
We
the
also,
conversation.
we also, I think we can put something on the website as well, maybe, I don't know, if we feel, maybe just send email to such and such.
If interested,
Everybody's
maybe
watching
on-
it right
on the
now.
website.
Yeah.
But Madam Chairman, I'd like to remind the board though that my estimates and the numbers that I did were at a $5 million net cost to us after trading in what we had to trade in. And that did represent an almost 19% increase in our budget. And I think we should all be very much aware of that right
Mhm.
now.
Which-
That does not consider the fact that a new building will probably increase our budget anyhow with perhaps additional people to fill in the space.
May or
and-
may
Yeah.
not,
Yeah.
we can work on that, plus it's so much more, I don't wanna say green, but the heat is probably not seeping out of the walls and the air
But
conditioning.
but heat
isn't-
isn't a major factor in this place either.
Well, I think it's costly, just the electricity and the utilities,
The
so to
biggest
speak.
expenses are personnel, and in new libraries, because of the larger open spaces, you don't really need as many people as
Right,
you think. I
right.
think
More
Warren
people in
went
each
from a really small library to
Right.
this new library, and I think they hired one new person or something like
Right.
that. It was ridiculous.
Nope.
We could fill in with part-time.
Just throwing out one more thing, a comment that Ray
Right,
made.
but we're moving on.
He said he believes the Silesian property is worth around.
He said $2 million. We think he's crazy. But
If he wants to give us $2 million.
That's right, that's what
he
I said.
didn't.
So she wants to
I
buy it
asked
from
him
us
if
for
he
$2
would be
million,
willing
right?
to dig in and maybe. I didn't feel like I was authorized by the board to offer it
Well,
to
we
him
should
for
put it up for
$1.9
sale and
million.
see if
Which
somebody
was
wants
my
to buy it.
explanation.
And then we'll come for- Yes.
Madam Chair, am I to understand that we would like RCLS to come in perhaps next month and discuss
Matt is
this?
gonna talk to the director.
Okay,
have
just-
him view the Quattrini building before the next meeting, if it's okay with the director of RCLS. And then he can come to us in September, since we seem to be moving things along, and tell us of his findings. And by then, hopefully, we will have interest in the community to jump on this bandwagon.
Furthermore, the focus group, we're looking to have that in place by October?
Yes,
Yes,
well, we're
thank you.
gonna put it in the newsletter in September and
About
on
5
the
minutes.
website, and then we'll put something in the newspapers after our newsletter comes out.
Has
Yeah,
anybody
thank you.
looked at the Cataract building?
Oh, come on.
That's a gentleman's club.
Yeah, right. Did you
Sorry.
put it in?
Yeah, but
This already got a
consider
poll
the
and everything.
sources, yeah. That one, yeah. Come on, just, yeah. It's a joke, laugh, this is Goshen, you gotta laugh, you gotta laugh.
Can you imagine these shows?
Laugh.
Yeah, I do.
Laugh, people. Okay, and our unfinished business, I just wanna make sure that the committee assignments in your packet is okay, because Bernie, you were added to it, we had a discussion. I see your name, so I'm assuming you said go for
Yeah.
it. Wunderbar, okay, friends.
Real quickly, the book sale in July at the farmer's market netted $108 because it was a really hot day, really tough. And the next book sale at the farmer's market is August 20th, and we need books, because we're really selling them out, and we're getting rid of books that, you know, you just can't give away, basically, some of them.
So, in somebody's penguin basement, maybe they have some books.
So,
Both books.
if people have books to contribute, then they should bring them to the library. We're also gonna have a fall sale right at the shed. That was done years ago and was quite successful. Open up the shed, set some tables up on some Saturday mornings, or a Saturday morning.
You can just show up with boxes of books, you don't have to call ahead and say, I'm coming late.
No.
Shelf in the back, you just leave
Yeah.
and do it all.
Yeah, bring them
I'm
in the back
cleaning out my
door, there's a
house.
spot there. Matt.
Let's get to work. I can
Okay,
keep it
but
in shape.
I'll clean my house.
The Friends, looked at a budget for the year. There's a CD that's close to $5,000, that's being left as a CD as an emergency fund. We're going to have about $1,000 for kind of general operating costs. And then there's 5,000 more that we have, largely as a result of new members. We have over 40 members. People, we go, I don't know where they come from, but the farmers market here, wherever they've joined, in a number of cases, they just write a check for $100 and they're lifetime members.
Bless them. Would they be interested in the advisory committee for maybe?
It could be. But they, you know, there's a lot of goodwill out there for this library, and we should be aware of that. So of that 5,000, 2,500 is going to be devoted for projects within the library itself, and 2,500 for historical society projects.
Okay.
And one of those historical society projects is that we are undertaking, we've begun to videotape. We're trying to record, there's only 2 dairy farms left in the town of Goshen. There used to be dozens. And we are recording one of the 2. It's a multi-generational, 3 generations on the farm. And it's really, I think it's going to be quite successful. We have Tom Flynn, a recent high school graduate from Goshen High School, honor graduate, who's going to Hunter College in the fall to study filmmaking. And he's helping in the project. 2 other quick things is next year is the 100th anniversary of this library becoming a public library. It was not a public library at first, it was a subscription library, and most people couldn't afford to join. And so 100 years ago, this coming year, is the anniversary of becoming public, and the Friends Group is looking for ideas and would like to coordinate with this board. So if anyone on the board or anyone in the community has ideas on how we might celebrate this fact, 100 years of service to the public, we'd like to hear about that.
How would they hear about it?
Well, contact
Email you
or email me. The Friends group has a little box upstairs, and you just drop a note on the circulation desk, and that's a good place to communicate.
Friends do it, not the board.
And I guess the final thing is that there's a junior Friends group now that we're forming, and we'll have to see how that goes. It's a new venture.
Did you get a coordinator for that?
There was somebody that expressed an interest. I don't know if that's been finalized yet. I may end up being the coordinator by default. But we were trying to get someone who's a certified teacher, which I'm still certified, on certification, because back in the 60s I taught in public schools for 5 years. So before I went to the college level. So, but there's several people who are thinking of this as a coordinator.
Now, do you have a folder for all your friends' emails, like just friends' people, in your computer?
Yes, I do.
I was thinking if you might just say, we're starting this advisory committee, if you know somebody or if you yourself are interested, since you are a friend, that might be a first place to start.
We should put out another invitation to let people know.
Fabulous.
Good.
Do you think that maybe a flyer at on the 20th at the farmer's market, one you can ask for members for the advisory committee, so people can walk away with information?
We don't use that for recruiting all the time.
And also, to solicit people, folks' ideas, grammatically correct, about the centennial celebration. Maybe they have a book at home that they might want to say, oh, here's something that I've had as a, just a flyer. Next year is a centennial. What kinds of programs would you like to see put in place? Would you be able to donate, if you have any materials or share any materials for that celebration?
That's a good idea. You can do that.
Anything in unfinished business? New business, charter amendment discussion.
I already addressed this in the director's report, but I'll try to forward you the documents, the preliminary documents as I get them from the state, so that you guys.
Which includes the charter. The charter's not in our Google.
I don't think it is. I can show you a copy of it
The
upstairs.
charter was quite long and lengthy
It
at one
was.
time, and it just needs to be,
Association policies that discussing Chester, or is that part of the charter?
No, that's related.
Because it looks like it overlaps, I just wasn't sure when you
Yeah.
decided to discuss it.
So we can move on to the circulation policy. Actually, this map I gave you, you all should have one of these colorful maps. The red area, that's Orange County. The red areas are unserved areas. In other words, they don't have a library. Notice the green circle there? That's us. In there too, you'll see Chester. See that little red, not the big on the right, but that little red tag along the top there? That's an unserved area that we actually serve along with Chester. And the difficulty with that area is that they happen to be in the town of Goshen, but they're in the Chester School District. Okay. And so obviously they don't have a library because Chester is a town library, and they're in the Chester School District, not the Chester town. They pay their taxes in the town of Goshen. So they're not in our school district. See how complicated these things can get. They fall between the cracks. I'm trying to get a number about how many of them there are. I get the sense that it's a few hundred people. I can't,
Well, I know I'm in Arcadia Hills.
Okay, right.
There's 240 houses in Arcadia Hills. I think on every one of them, but 40 of them are in the Goshens.
Okay.
And the rest are in the Chester. It is in the town of Goshen, in the Chester Fire District. It's delightful. It's the Goshen water. It's, I don't know why this one development got
So
bisected, cut apart like that. I have no idea why it happened like that. If you look at the map of the school district, there's this little cutout of it, and I have no idea why. But that looks
probably
like
was a deal with a developer.
it probably was. I'm sure they bought that farm, and there was some kind of
farm across these lines.
Right, but the thing is, if you look at the map, it looks like it was a deliberate carved out for the Chester School District. I have no idea why that is. There's also new development that's supposed to be going on, and Lone Oaks or something. I don't know at what stage that's at, but it was originally supposed to be Arcadia Hills Phase 2, 30, 40 years ago, and it never got built. And so now somebody is trying to revive it. That's also going to be Town of Goshen, Chester School District. So I don't know, this is going to be a bigger problem.
Right down the line. Well, that's what
down
I'm.
the line,
In fact,
because
I
there
didn't
are-
even know this was happening until
Yeah,
someone brought it to my
It
attention.
didn't even occur to me until I read your report that this was even an issue.
So I guess I guess you all probably just have to decide. What I spoke to Chester's director, and I just sort of hashed it over quickly. Didn't go into too much detail. And we thought maybe it could be some kind of a deal where we took the Goshen Town people. Now remember, the Goshen Town people still aren't paying for service. The only other thing to do, if we even, is do another way on the deal. But this is something that probably has to be done with just be good neighbors with Chester, with ourselves, and RCLS, and figure out. I spoke to Robert Hubsher today. He had never even noticed that particular area. He was more concerned with these Waiwayanda, which we contract with, Mount Hope, which Port Jervis contracts, those bigger blocks. So.
Well, if we did a way on the type contract, then those individuals would go to the town where they reside, which is Town of Goshen, and they would, the Town of Goshen would pay per resident,
Right.
which they're not going to do
Yeah.
unless these people get excluded by us and get upset and go and pound on the door.
Right. So we have to put some.
Which is not a great way to start getting support for a new building.
Well, can the charter?
Yeah, but they don't vote on the new
Can we
building.
change the
No,
charter?
they
They don't,
I mean, because we're talking about changing
Like
the
your
charter
sympathy
positively
vote.
now.
Yeah.
That would be the time to make this change.
That would be a special legislative district. You'd have to go for a whole different, you'd basically go from a public school library to a special legislative district.
We don't want to change our fundamental
Right.
charter.
that's-
We're a
yeah,
school
when we change
district.
everything.
Yeah, that,
Yeah, just
know.
to remember. Everything is small. We already have 100,000 people. It's just a-
Well, how does one of these houses get identified? In other words, somebody comes in and their water bill says Goshen. How do you know that they're in this?
We have
area?
we have
Yeah,
a
we
map
have
that we
it
refer
there.
to as circulation.
Actively.
Yes. Remember? Check, make sure that they're in the schools, that it contains schools for practice. It is, and I wish I could bring it up, because I knew as soon as I started wading into it, it's huge, it was a big can of worms. It's got to be addressed at some point, because I guess it will become a bigger problem. RCLS a few years ago came out with a document for their direct access services, which means by state law you have to provide, and again this gets a little hazy, but you have to provide anyone living in the RCLS district with a card. If they're unserved, they can go to any library and get a card, but what they can do with that card is limited.
Right.
And I may be wrong about this, but as far as I know we don't do it. Very few libraries enforce those restrictions because it's very difficult to do because it's all electronic. It's like they can't take books out if they're less than a year old. There's all of these things that the catalog doesn't necessarily indicate. So it just falls by the wayside, and they get their card and they use it like anyone else would. But they don't pay, right? And and when it slides by when it's just a few streets or something. And I think that's what's happened.
It is.
It's just kind of. No one wants to deal with it, so it's in our policy that we serve these people. We give them a card, Chester gives them a card.
It's local government law that the townships have to provide library service to their residents that aren't furnished library service.
But according to the document that RCLS put together, and I spoke to Robert Hubsher, I have it here if you want to borrow it, you're welcome to. They somehow set it up so that RCLS so that these folks in these uncharted areas would have 2 years to come up with a solution. Either get a contract or bring it to a vote so that you get your library. After that, if a library feels these privileges are being abused, or if it feels there's a strain on it, and that would be a difficult thing to argue in this case, I think. You can contact the commissioner directly and ask for that particular community to be blocked from getting a library card at your library.
I'm saying before we did anything like that, it's a continuum of what I was saying. It's the town's job to furnish
Well-
library service. We should be contacting the town government and saying, hey guys, what do you wanna do?
Sure.
I'll do it.
Call Doug.
I got no problem.
So I just wanted to bring it, before you.
I'll
just-
call them a number of things.
I'm sure you will.
I have no problem, but I think that that's what we should be doing. If you want me to do it, I'll report back to you.
I'm thinking that this is a legal issue, and we've already had our attorney involved originally when we talked about the Orianda. So if our attorney is familiar with the issues, maybe he is the person that should contact the town or the town's attorney to point out the problem and suggest maybe they want to go the same route Orianda did. It would give us additional revenue.
And they are paying versus town tax, if you just
Right.
tax.
And it would avoid a big fight, perhaps.
I like that perhaps, that was nice.
Who, with me?
No, with the town or the
With the town.
residents in Arcadia.
Alright, so let's have Mr. Fink look into that, same thing with Wayanda, similar thing, and see what he says.
Well, when we end up, it sounds like they want to continue it.
Yeah,
right?
no, I
Yeah.
mean, initially it was the same thing with
It's the same
Right,
thing as
Wayanda,
the
right.
so
opposite.
he will
Right.
just be doing it with
I
the
thought
town.
you were
so-
going to the way out for
Oh, no. It's the same issue. Okay, next thing is RCLS local funding raising debate.
Yeah, when I spoke to Robert Hubchurch today, I found out that this had been put to bed too. RCLS's board, because as you know, state cuts are a bigger deal for a library, for a library system than they are for actual individual libraries. We get very little from the state, the library system rely on. So the RCLS board was mulling over the idea of direct mailing everybody in the RCLS district to drum up money for the system. And immediately, of course, member libraries balked because it's sort of double dipping. Now all these people are going to get letters from the RCLS system. They're not going to quite understand why am I being asked to give money to the system. I already pay taxes to my library, and it would be confusing. But so they decided not to do it. They're going to find other ways to fundraise. No direct mailing. But Rob asked me to just put it before you for you to vote on whether you would in the future, whether you would in the future have a problem with them mailing our constituency for
Show of hands,
donations.
who would have a problem with them doing that? Show of hands, who would not have a problem with them doing that? So that
Well,
would
we
be
have-
6-1 against RCLS having mass mailings for fundraising for member
Goshen.
libraries in the Goshen district.
I think
Hit up
School district.
Right.
if we're looking to,
We're trying to go for
exactly.
Right.
Yeah,
We
Hello.
should be having
Yeah.
many people.
they should be giving us $5. Yeah. Okay, so there's your answer to
Okay,
that.
good, okay.
Sounds
Way under.
Way
Right, the contract's up, I think, gosh,
It
what
said
was it?
September 14th.
Okay, good, I put it in there. But I've been talking with the town supervisor, he's anxious to know
Timed
whether
out?
we would agree to
Same
continue into
conditions.
the next year with the same conditions.
How to work for you and finding out addresses and all that extra work we talked about initially.
It
It was their responsibility.
Mhm.
Right.
We
But there
gave
was an
their
issue
town.
about it, they needed to find it, so we weren't stuck yet doing that.
But they're,
Right,
they're
so
going to their
that's
town
all.
clerk, aren't they?
How is it?
Yeah, they were supposed to go to the town
Is
clerk
that
and get validation and then.
It's working for the most part. I have to talk to them again to remind them. I think they were subtly reminding their people, or asking their people to have one card per family. And in the verbiage in the contract, it does specify that it's one card per person in the family. Now, of course, I can see why on their side they don't, they have 3 kids and mom and dad. But that is the way the contract is written, and I have evidence that that's not what they
Isn't
were
that
doing.
illegal? In other words, I can't check out books theoretically for someone else because it's a Homeland Security, I think. They want to know who's checking out which books.
I don't know. I don't think it's illegal. I mean, you can come in with a card, take out. A mother can take out books for her kids on her card.
if my wife reserves a
Yeah.
book.
Yeah.
That's a matter of, that's
All
a,
over the place.
you can't pick up another person's books with your card. In other words, if something's on hold, but you can take out any book, no one will
I
ask
seem
you
to
what
recall
the.
Homeland Security Act, they wanted to know who's taking books out about bombing and who's taking books out about where to get fertilizer and all that kind of stuff. And
No,
they
we have
wa-
no
they
way
wanted-
of-
They wanted,
I think
if
that was
it
shot down.
If it was
I
tracked.
think it was too. I think it was.
So,
It would be impossible for us
Yeah, and that's
to know who the books are for.
I think the issue
Yeah.
is that we wanna get the money that each card is supposed to be giving to us for our
Matt?
But if
revenue.
someone walks in,
I
doesn't
don't
that
think it
card
was
have a-
ever the intent of this board, I mean, looking at intent when you do something, there was never any intent on this board to allow where we were accommodating these people, to allow them to have one card per family. That
Right.
was never
No.
even entered as a possibility. If that's how they interpret our contract, they just as soon cancel the contract with them altogether.
Well, it started out that they were following the contract to the letter, and I think they must have had some personnel changes. I'm not sure. Then down the line, some it sort of
Government
sort of
Doesn't
slid.
the card have a name on it?
We asked them to come with, no, it doesn't come, you sign it. But,
It's just a barcode.
So if you walk, the person, they sign the card.
right, what would happen was they would go to their town clerk, they would get a document that said that they do indeed reside in that district, and it would be signed by the clerk, and it had space for one name. And then they would bring that in, and that worked well for a while. But then slowly you started to see it come in with the name of the person, the mother, and then the kid, the son and daughter written on the same, just sort of penciled in.
Should just take it back.
So we didn't, right, well,
Well, you know what, if Homeland Security has a problem, they can narrow it down to 4 or 5 people who took the book out. And,
My
our
brother
tax-
did it.
All right, our tax dollars at work. They're gonna
I mean,
ransack your house anyway,
I-
even if
I
it's the
think
one
there's a-
person in the house.
I think there's another item of something to be discussed in that, in coming up with this whole idea, the way we came at the charges was taking our total number of library cards outstanding and dividing it by the budget and saying that that's what it costs us for a library card.
So
And we were all happy with that idea at the time after further thought. And with additional knowledge, I find that we give library cards to every 4th grader in the Goshen School District, and probably half of our library cards outstanding haven't been used in the last 5 years. And maybe that number that we're charging per card is way, way too low, since we're talking about just our database of card holders. So, I may be listed as a card holder
right.
and my card, I don't know if I am, but I haven't used a card since 1970 in this library.
Can we edit?
So, and I don't know if there are other people like me. I mean, my card, if I can find it, is a handwritten card. There's no chips or barcodes or anything on it.
And it's in Latin.
It's
Braille.
Braille.
45 years ago.
Exactly.
But I'd like to bring up that point, and that I believe the number of the,
I think you're right, I think when we did that, we did the math, it worked out to, what we charging, like
$90,
$90
$90
I think it worked out to
something.
like $140, and we said that was too big an increase. So we said we would increase it in
Yes,
stages.
Yes.
Right.
So we have to,
Yes.
I think,
Yeah,
go
we
at
can't
least
just go
$5
in
more,
at
to kind of head toward,
We were doing a
The real
percentage
cost.
every year until it got.
Well,
where it was
I
covered.
think as a general, as I've learned more and more about fees and life, especially governmental units, that most times the non-represented people, if that makes any sense, people out of service area are charged anywhere from 110 to 125% of what the locals are charged. As a rule, and that seems to be pretty pretty established. So, I mean,
You
Well, we
recommending that?
had
or-
decided to shoot them up.
I'm recommending that we charge a premium over what we charge our taxpayers.
I recommend, I'm gonna,
If you
make a
will look-
motion that we increase it by $5, which I think is a reasonable
What are they paying now?
increase. They're paying 90, so that'd be about a 6 or 7% increase. And I think we should continue each year to increase it in a reasonable manner.
But I don't think that's any relationship to what our actual cost for a cardholder is. We know that those are cardholders are users. We know those are users. We have 6,000
Well, we have to
cardholders.
decide.
We have 6,000 cardholders. I'm sure we can assume that 1/3 of them are totally inactive. We have 4,000 cardholders.
Well, I
That
think
raises the average price 25 to 30%.
it's just interesting. While I was going through the same document about the direct access, I noticed they mentioned actual figures here for the way RCLS thought the library should come up with the number for the contract. It says the fairest measure of library support would thus be equal to the lowest denominator of average or median local tax support paid within the jurisdiction's county. For 2005, the most recent available comparisons, this would be the overall average per capita tax support for Orange, and they had it listed in 2005 as $40, Rockland at $92, Sullivan at $16, and Ulster at $30.
That's per capita.
Right, right.
That's 2005.
Right,
The whole county.
right. I just thought
So
it was
now
interesting
you're
that they
charging
used the different.
taxpayers
So I think-
rather than
Right.
library users.
Well, because that's who pays for the library, the
Right.
taxpayers, whether they're using it or not.
Yes,
That's why it's a difficult number.
you're gonna pay for the park in town. If you don't use it, that's fine, but
That's right.
and you might use it 1 year and then, because you've got kids at home, and then for a few years they leave, you don't use it, and then you go back again. I mean, people go in and
Right,
out.
there's people here who pay for
The option is there for them to use it.
Right. That's what you're paying for, is the option.
Alright, so the motion on this table is to renew the Wayland contract, but to increase it $5 to $95 per card holder.
Well, is there
Per
still,
member.
is there still a concern, and is there
Well,
something where we can maybe
Last year we
change the
told
form?
them we were going to increase it, but I'm not sure if what number that we told them, and they were okay with that.
Well, right now the form only has one spot for one name on it,
So
so maybe
that's
can you
what-
change the form to say, give the name to all adults in the family? And
No,
we
that's
should-
a
No,
separate
we don't
issue.
want, we
Right,
want
so we're
more.
not changing
Right.
that.
Right,
Yes.
we have them
went
each
through,
to,
we did all kinds of acrobatics to come up with that in
Yeah.
the first place, and that's,
One name per card.
right, 1 million.
yeah, like,
And if they wanted that more.
I mean,
then they
unfortunately,
have to
that
pay
there is
more.
right,
Yeah,
there,
but that's what happens here in Goshen.
Right, there's no way to
People in
really-
Goshen are paying for it that
Right.
way. It's, one,
You need a second on that to
yeah,
discuss it.
second,
I'll say.
we had Jim and Ellen.
I think we should do more than $5 difference.
Well, we're still discussing, so
That's
that's
part
the
of
motion
discussion.
for the $5. Let's do it all in favor. All opposed? Motion carries then. 5 beans. Up. Yep. Okay. Next item is a work session date. We need to get that going, so, we're training our new trustees, like we did with you guys.
Before the September meeting?
Yes, well, I was looking at September's calendar, and our next meeting is the 13th. The 27th is the Mommy Me Tea, which I always do. The 20th, it's my anniversary. I mean, I don't mind, but my husband's gonna be like, oh.
Is it like a big number or?
19 years, I
Does it
think, or
have to be
something.
Well, next year we could be retired.
So, no, I was thinking if we could do it on a Tuesday, or we could do it after the Mommy Me Tea at 8.
We're talking about in August or September?
September, for you guys,
This is
for
for
your
the new
training.
members.
We do this every time. So does an 8 o'clock on the 27th work for you guys better, or do you wanna have it on a Tuesday earlier?
I'd like to stick to a Monday, just because I know that for work, the first or second week will be back to school
Right.
nights. I have to be there for those.
Right. Is the 27th
until I get the school calendar,
Oh, you won't
I
know for
won't
sure.
know, but previous years, it hasn't been scheduled on a Monday, so I'm hoping that it will not be scheduled on a Monday this year. But I won't know until I get the school calendar, which should come
So
next week or something. Any minute now.
So what do you think? Is the 20th an option?
It's not
So
our
you wanna make
anniversary.
it tentative?
Anniversary.
However,
Come on.
I can't afford a lawyer.
All right, fine.
So we're not
I mean,
talking-
Okay, so the 27th.
Or we could do
10th,
it, I mean, we
o'clock.
Or
could,
the 6th, or?
The 13th, we get, that's a
that's our
regular
meeting,
meeting.
yeah,
It's a
so
regular
runs
meeting,
late.
okay.
So the
And
So
27th.
if we
do it
say
before then.
tentatively on the 27th, and if I can't make it, then I'm sorry.
Well, we can reschedule it, I just wanna get that
So
Okay.
let's
for
put
you
it on the
guys.
calendar for the
27th.
And should
And
we
then, you know,
have it at
whatever
7:30?
screws it all up, then
Well,
Middle
tea
time.
runs from 6:30 to
Oh,
7:30.
it is- oh, I thought it was on the 20th.
Or whatever
We
that's
have
called.
We have
Okay,
tea
8
and
o'clock.
cookies after, so how about 8 o'clock on the 27th for the work session?
Okay, so you will have tea and cookies for us as well.
I will have Kathy keep some extras, so. Put a
I'm
little
sorry,
something in
did you
that
say
tea
8
for
o'clock?
us.
Yes, and there will be tea.
Mike's Harmon Hard Lemonade, y'all for that. Okay, now, what I wanted to also say about that, last year's, when we did the training, we had that questionnaire thing. Are you aware of this, that, and the other thing? And you guys had, do you still have that?
I probably do.
If you could,
Find it and clean it up, because I'm sure I have it all marked up from last year.
right,
I'll
if you
find
could white
last
it out or
year's.
something,
Yeah, I'll just, all right.
and
sorry.
put it in, for Carol, to put it in their
I'll email it.
board packets, so they can look at it before the 27th. It's just like a little questionnaire of how well do you know your library, and how do you know, well, you know your responsibilities as a trustee, and that sort of thing, and then it opens up dialogue. And if you three have any questions that you can think about that you, when you were reading through your trustee handbook, or something that you're not
Yeah.
clear on, please email me in advance so that I can either look into it or not, flip my lips like a humana thing, so I can have an answer hopefully for you. Okay? All right, so the 27th. We did that. Questions, charter changes. Okay, RCLS annual legislative breakfast. I don't know if you all got the little postcards in the mail. It's for October 1st. I highly recommend that you attend. It's at the Walk Hill Golf Club. I know it'll be hard for you, Norma. I know.
can't.
Probably. Yeah, it's on a Friday.
8 to 11.
8:30 to 11:30, you get there a little early, you have breakfast, you meet whoever legislators are there, you listen to other libraries, and that sort of thing, so. Do they have an RS? I don't think they
I don't
have one
think
on
they
this,
do.
but Matt does register us, so we have a table.
That's for a
So-
lot of money.
Let Matt know, y'all, by the next meeting, so Matt can RSVP, so they have a table for Goshen.
I can't go, so I'm out.
Okay, well, the
I
rest,
might be able to go.
think about it. Let Matt know at the next meeting or a little before, then he can RSVP and they'll have our table for us. And we can carpool or do the little convoy or whatever it is y'all want to do. So, it's fun, it's a nice
October
breakfast.
1st?
October 1st is a Friday.
Can you solicit funds from the library?
Well, we could get advice from all the other libraries that are there and the directors that are there,
It's an
so.
election year coming up, they might
It
have
is.
some
Okay.
funds.
Privilege of the floor? Anybody?
Yes, I do. I like the idea of the Quattrini building only because it's a new building. There would be no major repairs required for many years. Minimal lawn maintenance. Well, I
It's
say-
not
Yeah.
that
Let me think about that.
Probably.
There may be
Except
no
for
grass
flowers
over
and
there.
what's not around.
There's no
Jim will have nothing to do with his time.
This is true.
Also, the seniors could walk over very easily as compared to the Healy building, which is an older building. The road there, I wouldn't want my children crossing the street there. That's 207, isn't it?
Yes.
That's a very busy road as compared to the Quattrini building where it's not as busy. I think it's a good idea. However, any new building might be a good idea, but I like this location primarily for these reasons.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
I was looking to put some information on Facebook, and this question's actually for you, Jim. When do the Friends meet?
They meet the third Tuesday
Third Tuesday of every month.
of every month.
Got it. Okay.
Yes,
Oh,
ma'am.
yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock? 7 o'clock.
reaching way back to a discussion on the child care and the concern about having younger children coming to programs that may not be appropriate for them. I teach at Circleville Middle School, and in an effort to have our parents and our children feel more of a sense of community, because the town of Walk Hill is rather diverse and dispersed. We've tried to make our school a place where they can come and feel a sense of community. So we had a family fun night, and I am an advisor for peer mediation. And one of the things that we offered to do to encourage parents to come with our students, of course, was to offer babysitting service for parents with younger children. Because one of the problems is getting babysitters to stay with the children while they come with their middle school children. We offered that service. It was a great success. One of the reasons why is because the parents could bring the younger children and have a place for them to go, have appropriate activities for them with supervision, where they had a lot of fun. They could go off with their middle school children and they could participate in the activities that we have prepared. And it was a great success. So what I'm thinking is with the junior friends, which is exactly the age group that we had between peer mediation, because I had 6th to 8th graders, and then I called up to the high school to the junior honor, well, not the junior, but the honor society. We had seniors who were in the honor society who needed their community service credits. They came down and helped us. It was a good outreach, and it may be possible that the people, the junior friends, if it's from 6th to 12th grade, they may be honor society candidates. They may be looking for community service credits. This would be a wonderful opportunity for them to get that credit, and also for them to do something for the library in a very real and concrete way. I remember when we met with my kids, and I told them what we were planning to do, they were extremely excited. They were delighted with the opportunity to be able to work with the children. They came up with all of the ideas for the games and the activities, and they even were bringing in the games themselves. So I think it would be a worthwhile idea to present to them to see if they would be willing to do this. Unfortunately, you need space.
Right. This is the space that you have the meeting, and this is the space you
Right.
need to have it. So you gotta wait
that's
till we
the
have the new
problem.
building. for
Right,
that.
and therein
Lies the rub.
we lead into,
Well, I think you just need a large, a wide chair, and we have thousands of activities sitting on the shelves.
Thank you. Yes.
In response to what she just said, we just did a family game night, and there's some videos on Facebook if you guys are interested in watching people do some interesting things. They had they actually got reined in. They came inside. They had an Oreo. You had to slide down your face and eat. We had one person was able to do that. You had to sort colored goldfish. They had teams of families, mother-daughter teams. We had a couple and her family participate. It was a great night, great success. And I know Michelle ran it. It was kind of like the end of the summer thing, but she's looking into doing that again, as far as I know, because it was such a huge success. They had pedometers strapped to their heads, and they had to and get the pedometer to click, and you see how many of those you could do in a minute. It was very. They had a shot glass inside a fishbowl, and you had to drop a marble from 24 inches and see how many you could get in the shot glass. They were very simple, fun things, and we had a great response. We had a lot of people show up. They had colored teams. It was wonderful. It was all in the minute to win it type of thing. So we're looking into doing more of that. I'm not sure. It's called a family game night, but a lot of the things are very kid-friendly. And I know that was a big concern of both Eleanor and Michelle, was getting kid-friendly things that the whole family could do. So I think that's something that they're looking into. So that's an up-and-coming kind of project.
Fabulous. I was going to suggest it at our work session for team building skills they do in businesses, where you get in a rowboat and you have to build something and make it across the stream, but different venue. I was going to have us do minute things. Team building skills, guys! But yeah. Okay.
Sounds like fun.
We'll just shoot quarters into the glass and whoever can.
Yeah. Water.
Yeah, you up for that? I am too. That's my minute to win it, so anyway. Any other privilege of the floor? My turn. I have a statement. I hope this one finds its way to where it needs to be. Number one, the library in no way is going after any potential rateables in this village. The property in question is potentially being bought by a developer, not a food store or a chain. This potential said developer would then have to gain renters and leasees into his buildings. We are all taxpayers too and would welcome any and all rateables that find their way into our town and village. Number two, one of the responsibilities of the library board is to be in compliance with state library law and regulations. We must run a library that meets our community's needs. By looking at all available properties, we are keeping our options open for future cost-effective expansions. No one looks at only one house when making such a huge purchase. Number three, I have said this numerous times and I will say it again. When and if the time comes for a new library, the community will be aware and part of this process. The Goshen community will tell us what they want in their library by voting as such, even if it means staying in this current building. End of statement.
Hear, hear. I second it.
Maybe I have things on the bottom. Okie dokie. I need to make a motion to go into executive session for the matter of personnel discussions. Ellen, Norma, David. Okay. We are entering into executive session at 9:28 p.m.